So here we have the clutch on the F850GS. This is with the springs and basket plate and clutch pack and the final two pieces, the judder seat and spring, removed. So it is ready for prime time. Looks great. So next task is to put these basket sleeves, the whole slew of them, these basket sleeves, into the basket slots. And the L side of it is supposed to be on the inside edge of the slot. Oops, nope, top. Right, so like this. This guy should slide in. And it's supposed to sit a little not flush. And so I show about 2 millimeters, maybe a little more than 2 millimeters from flush. So when that's all the way down there at the at the base, it's a nice fit. They I kind of thought that they might feel like they're going to fall out, but the springiness of it and the way that they're made is makes for a pretty nice positive feel in terms of staying in. Alright, one more to go and one more slot. No extra parts, imagine that. How cool! Next task. This is the magic of the Rekluse, is the EXP disc. It's a spring-loaded disc that at higher RPMs the springs allow it to come out, spread apart, and cinch the clutch, clamp the clutch down. So the EXP disc on this bike goes in first. If you're doing a Rekluse for some other bike, be sure to read very carefully what the instructions say about what goes in where. They send you a whole bunch of steels, a whole bunch of frictions. They aren't all the same size. They're not all the same thickness. This guy on my WR250R, I think went in last, and in this bike it goes in first. So RTFM. You're supposed to soak in oil for 5 minutes and make sure, they say make sure that both sides are coated in oil, and I'm pretty sure that it already is, but no sense in screwing that up and making it janky to start with, I guess, ultimately. We're gonna see if this thing fits. And there it goes, dropping into the bottom. Next for this one is alternating five sets of .060, which are the thicker drive plates, and 5 thin frictions. There's less variability on the frictions than there are on the steels in this bike, and so here's the frictions. So they get oiled also. They sit in oil for 5 minutes. I think it's probably been a good 20 since I managed to get my stuff together to do the job. And the steels don't get oiled. So I did carefully make sure that I stacked the steels in the order in which they're going to go in. I verified that with calipers as well, just to make sure. And they were shipped to me in order, thankfully, so I just verified that they were in the right order, and then on the frictions the same way. So I'm going to have the thin frictions at the top of the bag so I can pull them off from the top. The thick ones go at the end of the task on this bike. And for the steels, there are actually two at the very end that are, the circumference is actually larger on these than the rest. So you can see that these guys, I'm pretty flush at the other end with my hand, and these guys stick out here. So I'm going to do a steel here, Oh, felt it notch in. Oh, wow. Holy cow. Oh my gosh. Wow, this could be a bit of a bear. Wow, that is a tight fit. Friction. This should be easier. And they do note that these guys have to go in the full size slots in the basket, which I don't think you can, it'd be hard to screw that up on the Beamer here because the basket's not really open at the top like some of them are with short and tall variants. Alright, the next steel. Let's see if I do better with this next steel. It would make me happy. I'm feeling it over here on this side, on the left. Oh, come on, baby. Come on, baby. There you go. Don't want to jam those things in there, that's for sure. Now we're going to do an 048 steel and a thin friction. So I'm counting on these being in the right order, that I did all my homework first, but in looking at them I can see that I know that I'm going to do a 48 and then two 40s, and I can tell that there's a thicker and two thinners, and then finally the two final ones that have the different circumference. Those are 48s also, but they're different circumference. So that checks out, because I know that my next step is the 48 with thin friction, followed by using both of the 40s. The 048 steel goes on. Nice. Followed by thin friction. This is the sixth thin friction. There are 7 thin frictions total. Alright. And then we do an 040 steel, a thin friction, the last thin friction, and then an 040 steel. Here's an 040 steel. Alright, so we're going to do our last thin friction. Let's verify, yep, that is the last one that's in there. Super. And then the final 040 steel. And now, on top of the last steel, install a thick friction. So here we go, thick friction. The final work is with 2 steels and a thick friction, but they actually go on the pressure plate. So the pressure plate, bring that back up here. So they want the thick friction onto the pressure plate. Alright. And that's a sloppy fit. Install the 2 remaining 4/8 steel drive plates stacked on top of each other, on top of the friction. So there's the friction. You can see it's kind of sloppy moving around. So I'm going to put in a steel plate, which again has to go in the teeth. Nice. And since I'm here, I'm going to run my finger, since we're going to do 2 steel plates in a row. It does not say so in the instructions, but I'm going to go ahead and put a little oil there. Seems like the right thing to do. And then the last 048 larger circumference steel, I'll do the same thing with it, just for good housekeeping. And then we turn it right side up and install it onto the clutch back. The spring cups are supposed to go where the arrows are. They're supposed to match up, and what I've done is I've put where the screws go, where the bolts go in there, and so the bolts are supposed to be alternating. So I've just I'm off here. I'm off. So got to rotate to here, and then this should better line up. There we go. So I've had to do a little spinning of things around There we go. That's starting to look right. It still doesn't look quite centered, but that may be the way it came out. This actually feels right in terms of going back together. Oh, I see, right. Because it's made to do that. I get it. I'm not a mechanical engineer. Okay. So I think I'm right here. This guy spins more than I thought in there because of the I think because of the slipper clutch design. Now I can put in the spring cups. So the cups go back in. There's a little arrow here on the cup, and it lines up with the arrow there. Same way here. This little arrow here. So I can show you that arrow there, right? And there's an arrow here on the pressure plate. So those guys line up in there. The springs go in, but these are Rekluse springs into the spring cups, and then the plate that goes on top of it. So here's the 3 pressure plate springs from Rekluse. So those guys go into the cups. This plate goes on, and I had noted that the markings were on the outside when I took it off. So that feels correct. I'm going back on this way. There's nothing else to align this. It's nothing but the holes where the bolts go in. So it's a free-floating mechanism otherwise. Really nicely machined stuff here. Really nice feeling to the bolts when they go on. So then they tell you to lightly tighten the bolts and then torque them down to 10 Newton meters. Just felt the bottom of that one. The bottom of that one. Felt the bottom of that one. Alright, grab a different torque wrench. So now, tighten these guys down to spec. See if the clutch won't move. Haven't got one click yet. Dang it. Okay, I gotta click out of that one. That one. Good. Alright, each are at 10. Verify the case and clutch cover are clean and free of residual silicone sealant. That part I'm not certain of. Looks like the inside here is looking good. Yeah, actually, the inside looks great. Remember the outside. All right, good 10 minutes or more, maybe, of scraping the little minutia off the inside edge of this guy. I found a plastic ruler worked pretty well for me to be able to give it a good scrape across the edges without feeling like I'm marring the surface of the cover. So now what we're ready for is installing the gasket that's supplied and the cover, and final tightening to 20 Newton meters in a particular order that sort of goes like 1, 2, and then 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11 around the edge. So I'll give you a little more detail on that as I get there. I'm going to put in one of the OEM washer ones first, which I think they call the number 1 spot anyway, which is kind of convenient. Yeah, they do. So this one here in this top right corner, this is number 1, and it has a washer. And this is a game of lightly tighten. You can crack the case if you do it wrong. So lightly tighten, and then you come back and tighten in the right torque sequence down to 20. On the disassembly, there was a larger picture that shows the number 1 position there in the upper right corner having a washer, and then not this one next, but the next one. So there's number 1 with the washer, not this one, and then this one has the washer. Make sure that the gasket doesn't get too askew from the torque of everything here. So I'm going to put something in an upper left corner here to get things to square up. So I'm going to grab my T40. I'm just going to go around these guys and just barely snug these things. Here's the page. It shows the order, so that top right one with the washer is number 1, and the far bottom left is number 2, and then it goes clockwise 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, and then skip number 1, 8, 9, 10, 11, back around. So that's the torque sequence. I'm not trying to get them torqued down on this go around. I'm just trying to get them mostly tight. So there we have it. That is a completed install without the adjustment. Back later for adjustment.